Mario has tried his hand in so many genres. Obviously there's the platforming, then there's racing and sports, but then there's the RPGs. Mario RPG, of course, and then Paper Mario, the best RPG on the N64, and it had some stiff competition, let me tell ya. But then... Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door is my favorite RPG, period. Which puts it high in the running for my favorite video game of all time. It's more than a game, it's a fucking adventure. The first Paper Mario was great, but this game took everything the first game did and multiplied it by 10 billion. This game follows Mario as he travels to Rogueport to meet Peach, who sent him an ancient treasure map. But by the time Mario gets there, Peach has gone missing. Naturally, she's been captured by Bowser. Oh, okay, guess not. She's actually been captured by these so-called X-Nauts who are searching for the treasure. Bowser is in the game though, and he's fucking pissed. He finds out that someone other than him has kidnapped Peach, and that there's a legendary treasure out there just waiting to be stolen. That's probably the coolest thing about this game, the fact that all this shit is happening worlds apart and you're just waiting for it all to collide. The game's story is split up into chapters. Each chapter has Mario and his band of partners going to another world in search of the crystal stars. At the end of each chapter, an intermission occurs where you play as Peach in the place where she's captive as she attempts to cooperate with the X-Naut's morally conflicted supercomputer. And then, we play as Bowser as he trails one level behind Mario. See, this right here, this is what sells the game. In a story-driven game, the concept of seeing the same overarching plot through multiple perspectives is fucking ingenious. And that is the first thing that this game does better than the original. In the original, there were parts where you played as Peach, but Bowser was just a step too far. But things are different now. It's a brave new Bowser world out there. As for the second thing this game does better than the original, well, I mean, in the first game, could you get a Yoshi and name him Kane Hodder? Not a fucking chance. Third thing this game improved is the battle system. Now that the game runs at 60 FPS, it actually makes the action commands feel much more consistent and responsive. But it's also the battle system itself that's cooler. Every battle takes place on a stage with an audience. In order to use special moves, you need star power like the first game. But instead of the star power gradually increasing like the first game, it's actually the audience that gives it to you. And if you manage to impress the audience with stylish moves, they'll actually give you more. Unless the audience is full of skeletons, those guys are assholes. Speaking of assholes, sometimes the audience will actually throw shit at you while you're fighting if you take too long to move. Sometimes pieces of the set fall off and hurt you. It's really funny. And surprisingly, the random element is not that frustrating. Also, now you have the power of super guarding. Every attack the enemy does has a very, very small window of time in which you press B and you actually do 1 damage to them instead of taking damage from them. It can be really tricky to nail the timing, but if you land a super guard against a boss, you'll feel like the fucking king of the world. When you level up, you have the option of upgrading badge points, which allow you to equip more badges, flower points to allow you to use more powerful attacks, or heart power if you're a little bitch. Another thing I love about this game is how unafraid it seems to be of taking creative liberties with regards to the Mario universe. Obviously, a lot of the characters are based on creatures you'd find in the Mushroom Kingdom, but there's all sorts of weird characters that don't necessarily look like they belong in a Mario game, and yet they still fit. Mario's been all over the Mushroom Kingdom, but now there's sort of an impression that he's somewhat out of his element here, and yet he still has no problem kicking ass, taking names, and ramming the names right back up their respective asses. And I absolutely love the characters in this game. Obviously there's Bowser, who's just pissed the entire time, which is always funny. Then there's Don Pianta. That's right, Mario consults his Italian brothers-in-arms in this game. Also, there's a little side story where his daughter and his top employee are getting married, which is also pretty cute. There are all kinds of backstories and side stories happening throughout the game, and sometimes little hints and references that suggest other things are going on in the background. If you pay attention to certain clues the first time around, you may actually be able to predict certain plot points later in the game. The lore in this game is surprisingly rich. There's subtle details that you might miss the first time around, but upon subsequent observations, you start putting the pieces together in your head and making these smart connections. Every time I've replayed this game, I've found something new, and even on some occasions, I've developed a new appreciation for things I already knew about. I absolutely love the story for this game. At first it seems pretty average, but it gradually builds up, and then it starts accelerating really hard, and it culminates into an absolutely incredible ending that when I first played it at 10 years old, I was not fucking ready for at all. But I could never forget it afterwards. But the best part of the story of this game is that when you beat the game and reload your file, you pick right back up after you beat the game. There are a number of games that have this stupid thing where once you beat the game, it unbeats it for you and just kicks you right back to your last save. The Zelda games are probably the biggest culprit here, and even the original Paper Mario did this if I remember correctly, but not this game, and I love that because I actually feel accomplished that way. Most good games or films have at least one awesome defining moment that shows it at its absolute prime. Now if this game had one defining moment, I wouldn't want to spoil it for you, but since this game has several, I think I can afford to spoil just one. There's a boss fight on a fucking train! Okay, so like I said, the story is amazing and full of awesome defining moments. But even after the story's done, there's still a bunch of shit to do. There's all the side quests at the Trouble Center, there's collectibles like the star pieces, shine sprites, badges, tatalogs, recipes, and you sick fucks out there have the Pit of 100 trial. The fun just never ends here. This game rewards exploration heavily. Don't ever be afraid to look around. You'll thank me later. The presentation of this game is top-notch. Naturally, the game retains the paper/pop-up book aesthetic from the original, but now it's on GameCube, so it looks even better. GameCube is much better at rendering paper, as it were. I also love how they integrated the paper thing into the gameplay. Mario can fold into a paper plane or a paper boat, which is probably incredibly painful, so you'd better damn well appreciate it. But if there's one thing that truly ties this entire game together, it's the fucking music, man. You have that yippee skippy remix of the Mario theme for when you're skipping around the bright and sunny fields. You got that angry, bombastic music for Bowser's rage attacks. There's that sad, mischievous music for when Vivian's sisters keep picking on her. There's that beautiful, tranquil music for the sacred tree. Then there's that mean shit for Don Pianta. Every single song is just a perfect match for the scenario, and it's an absolute miracle of video game music. There are only a handful of games that really nail the music like this, and Thousand Year Door is there. The dialogue in this game is great. Every single person, even the most generic NPCs in the game, have something to say. Sometimes it's relevant to the game, sometimes it's funny, and sometimes it even makes you think, which is something Mario games don't often do. I can't think of any time where I met any two characters who say the same thing. The attention to detail in the dialogue is just incredible. Thousand Year Door is an outstanding achievement for video games and an uncompromisingly brilliant experience. You can tell easily that every aspect of the game had an immense amount of heart and soul just poured into it. It's a beautiful experience that everybody needs to see at least once. The great graphics, the beautiful music, the memorable, distinct characters. This game is an unforgettable experience. Believe me, I tried. It's impossible. This is easily my favorite RPG of all time, possibly my favorite game on the GameCube, and might even be my favorite Mario game. It is that good. There's a reason people like me get so angry over Color Splash and Sticker Star. Even if those games are halfway decent, the fact is that we had something absolutely beautiful here, which the developers keep trying to deviate from in the name of innovation. I don't hate innovation, but to change the core mechanics and all the other shit and still call it by the same name feels like an insult, especially considering how vocal fans have been about this. Maybe one day they'll make a true successor to this game. Or not. Maybe the reason they haven't is because they realize how much they outdid themselves and how monumental the task would be to one-up this game. But still, I'm just happy that this game even exists in the first place. And you should be too. You have a moral obligation to play this game.